So again, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us on today's Cybersecurity Awareness Month webinar series. My name is Jay Covington. I'm the Awareness and Outreach Section Chief for the Stakeholder Engagement Division at the Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and I'll be your host. So October 2023 marks the 20th annual Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Since 2004, the President and Congress have declared October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and it's a month dedicated to the public and private sectors working together to raise cybersecurity awareness about and the importance of cybersecurity in general. Now, CISA and our partners, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, are partnering once again this year to expand cybersecurity awareness on the national and even global scale. Our goal is to educate individuals and organizations about potential cyber threats and encourage the adoption of best practices for digital and online safety. Now, this year's overarching theme, Secure Our World. Now, this calls for all of us to take action and adopt improved and ongoing cyber hygiene. By committing to safe online behaviors, we can easily minimize and prevent cyber criminals and hackers from infiltrating our devices and online accounts. Now, the goal of this campaign is to implement 4 meaningful, simple, key behaviors to secure our world. Number 1, use strong passwords. Number 2, enable multi-factor authentication. Number 3, recognize and report phishing. And number 4, such as today's webinar, update your software. Now, each week in October, we've taken a deeper dive into these 4 actions and understanding why their implementation is so vital. Today, we'll be discussing the best practices for software updates. Now, with that, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker and subject matter expert on updating your software, Ron Waters. Now, Ron serves as the Region 10 Cybersecurity Advisor for CISA. Prior to joining DHS, Ron served 27 years in the U.S. Navy and Navy Reserve as a submarine sonar technician and diver. Finding not much use for submarine sonar technician in the surface reserve, Ron utilized his talents as an intelligence analyst and was utilized accordingly. Now, his program coordinates cyber preparedness, risk mitigation, and incident response, as well as provides cybersecurity resources, including assessments, to the nation's 16 critical infrastructure sectors and state, local, tribal, and territorial government entities. Now, Ron has a huge asset to CISA. I look forward to learning from him today. And with that, Ron, I'll hand it off to you.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Jay. As Jay mentioned, my name is Ron Waters. I'm the Senior Cybersecurity Advisor to CISA Region 10, which is Alaska, Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. And I will be speaking to you about the best practices for software updates. Today, I will cover the importance of software updates, the type of software updates, research from NCA on software updates, when to update your software, best practices for software updates, and benefits for keeping your software up to date. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, it is crucial to help everyone understand the significance of using strong passwords and password managers and how to safeguard our digital world. We will first discuss why updating your software is so important. Updating your software is paramount importance in the digital age. It's not just about having the latest features. It's about safeguarding our digital world. Software updates often contain critical security patches that shield your systems and data from the evolving cyber threat. They also enhance performance, ensure that your software runs smoothly and efficiently, and moreover, updates frequently introduce valuable new features and improvements, enhancing your overall user experience. In essence, by regularly updating your software, you're not only staying ahead of potential vulnerabilities, but also embracing the continuous evolution of technology for a safer, more efficient, and feature-rich digital life. So let's talk about security. Updates are often contain patches for vulnerabilities, keeping your data safe from cyber threats. If you do your software updates regularly, you'll know that Microsoft releases patches every month, and it's usually, we call that Microsoft Tuesday. And so your system should be updated regularly to keep up with those patches. Performance updates can improve your performance of your software, making it run faster and smoother. New features, updates often bring new features and functionality and enhancing your experience. Recently, Microsoft released a update to the Outlook 365 for your cell phones, which moved things around and enabled some new features, which I haven't fully gotten into yet, but they are interesting. Software's updates simply come in four major types. The major update, these are significant and may use new features and designs. You'll know this because the actual number of the update will increment. For instance, in the iOS, we recently had an update to iOS version 17 from version 16.0.3. So that's a major update. When you update or increment an additional number, that's a major update. A minor update, these focus on fixes, improvements, and small feature enhancements that address issues in the software's current version. If you go from 17 to 17.0.1, that's a minor update. Security updates. These address vulnerabilities that should be installed promptly. They are crucial to protecting your system and data as they fix the targeted vulnerabilities, ensuring your software remains resilient to emerging cyber threats. And you'll see that also if you go from 17.0.0 to 17.1, that's usually an indication of a security update. So you could have multiple updates. You could go from 17.0 to 17.0.1.1. You've had both a minor update and a security update, if you were ever curious about what the numbers meant. EOL updates. End of life. Sometimes vendors will discontinue support for a software program or issue software updates for it, also known as end of life software. Continued use of EOL software poses consequential risks to your systems that can allow the attacker to exploit security vulnerabilities. The use of unsupported software can also cause software compatibility issues as well as decrease the system performance and productivity. End-of-life software. So if you are still using Windows NT, you probably should update your system. Same with Vista. That's why you get different versions of software. Not only are there updated drivers for newer peripheral systems, there are also security updates have been patched, and you're able to get new features. That's why software updates. Now, I understand that some of you are rolling your eyes thinking that it's the ability of the software vendor to get more money, and it is to a certain extent. But there are also serious things in the software that were found that needed to be updated. CISA recommends that users and administrators retire all end-of-life products. Each type serves a distinct purpose, collectively contributing to more security-efficient features of software in the ecosystem. As Shay mentioned earlier, CISA and the National Cybersecurity Alliance, NCA, have co-led the Cybersecurity Awareness Month efforts for the last 20 years. The successful collaboration has led to impactful information sharing, joint events, research, and coordinated actions to embrace cybersecurity. NCA conducted a survey with the public, and these were the findings. 36% of survey participants reported installing the latest updates in software as soon as they became available. Of those who reported installing the latest updates to their devices, 62% had turned on automatic updates. Approximately 2 in 5 survey respondents say they either sometimes, rarely, or never install software updates. That's dangerous. Software updates are released by vendors regularly, and you need to be diligent with your home computers, especially if you're doing banking or some other sensitive communication on those systems. You want to make sure they're updated. One of the easiest ways to protect accounts and information is to keep the software and applications updated. Updates are periodically released to fix software problems and provide software patches for known vulnerabilities. The Cybersecurity Awareness Month, don't hit the remind me later button. Take action and stay one step ahead of cyber criminals. So we've all hit the remind me later button. We've all done it because we're right in the middle of something, but we need to make sure that we go back and we do those updates, both in the Windows platform and the Apple iOS. both have the remind me later button. Make sure that you've set those to automatically update if you don't do it within a certain period of time. Okay, so where to find your updates? When the software updates become available, vendors usually put them on their website for users to download. Install updates as soon as possible to protect your computer, phone, and other digital devices against attackers who would take advantage of system vulnerabilities. Check for notifications on your phone and computer. You usually get a pop-up saying that there's a software update available. On your Windows or Apple phone, if you have an Apple phone, you'll get a little red dot above the General tab or the General gear. Click on that, and it'll tell you the software update is available. Look for the phone's browser or app settings. Check the upper corner of your browser for any updates. There are signs that there are updates available. You just have to know what you're looking for and where to find them. Attackers may target vulnerable systems for months or even years after the updates are available. Some software will automatically check for updates, and many vendors offer users the option to receive updates automatically. If automatic options are available, CISA recommends that you take advantage of them. If they're not available, periodically check your vendor's website for updates. This is checking your vendor's website for the BIOS in your system, depending on the chipset that you have. You're not going to get notification of the update, so you need to go every so often and check the vendor's website to see if there's a BIOS update for your systems. Make sure that you only download software updates from trusted vendor websites. Do not trust a link in an email message. Attackers have used email messages to direct users to websites hosting malicious files disguised as legitimate updates. Users should also be suspicious of email messages that claim to have a software update file attached. These attachments may contain malware. If possible, only apply automatic updates from trusted network locations. Avoid updating software while connected to an untrusted network. So please don't update your software if you're in the airport or Starbucks. You don't know who else is on that network, and you don't know who else can reach into your system and start poking around. Do it from home. Make sure that you have a secure access to your network. I recommend plugging directly into the router, but most people do not. They use it over an wireless access point. That's fine. But make sure you're using some type of VPN if you can. If updates must be installed over a trusted network, use a VPN or a virtual private network connection to a trusted network to apply the updates. Okay. When it comes to software updates, adhering to best practices is essential. Regularly check for updates. Make it a habit to check for updates manually or enable automatic updates whenever possible. If you don't have automatic updates checked on your system, you should be checking for updates at least monthly. Back up your data. Before updating, always back up your important data to prevent any data loss during the process. If you're using a Windows or Apple-based system, you can set the system to automatically back up your data weekly. I recommend that you do that. Read the release notes. Understand what changes and improvements the update brings. Release notes are very simple. When you get the information about the update, it tells you exactly what they're doing. Usually it leads with the first paragraph is bug fixes, but also tells you if it's got any enhancements or new features. Schedule the updates. Wisely plan updates during non-peak hours to minimize disruption. In your business, you want to make sure to do these after hours if you can. At home, you'll probably want to do them while you're sleeping. So schedule them appropriately. Now, if your system is not up, the update will not load. So what I recommend that you do is log into your system and then lock your system so that the system can load the updates while you're asleep. Test in a sandbox environment. For businesses, test the updates in a controlled environment before deploying them company-wide. This is a good idea. And I can say in 30 years of doing this, I've only found that Microsoft has sent us 2 bad updates. One was Outlook a few years ago, and one was a Windows-based update in the mid-2000s. Both caused significant problem, but generally, they've already tested them before they put them out. I can't say that about all vendors. Don't click on remind me later. They could leave you vulnerable to cyber threats, because what happens is you say remind me later and you forget. So if you're going to click remind me later, make sure that as soon as you're done with the work that you're working on presently, that you go back in and update your software. Keep everything updated. Besides software, ensure your hardware and drivers are up to date for compatibility. Make sure that all your peripherals, you want to check the websites of those vendors and make sure that their drivers, the latest versions, are the ones that you're using. Enable automatic software updates whenever possible. This is to ensure that software updates are installed as quickly as possible. Do not use unsupported end-of-life software. Please do not revert from Windows 10 or Windows 11 to Windows XP or Windows Vista. It's not a good idea. Most of your newer peripherals will not be compatible. The drivers won't function. It's just generally not a well-thought plan. Now, if you want to load that old software on an old system to see what us old guys used to deal with, then go right ahead, but don't have it connected to your network. Also, visit vendor sites directly rather than clicking on advertisements or email links. I see this regularly in the field. Folks will get a notification from their bank or from a vendor, and they'll click on the link in the email. Don't do that. If it's your vendor or someone that you're doing business with, go to the vendor's website to get the information that you need. Avoid software updates while using untrusted networks. As we discussed earlier, don't go into a public network and try to upload your software. New vulnerabilities are continually emerging. It is like a large game of whack-a-mole, but you try to stay ahead. The best defense against attackers is simple. Keep your software up to date. This is the most effective measure you can do to protect your computer, phone, and other digital devices. Benefits of keeping updated. Updating your software might seem a small and simple task, but it can have a significant impact on your cybersecurity. If you can mean the difference between being safely protected or becoming the next target of a cyber attack. Updating your software comes with a multitude of benefits. Enhanced security. As we talked about, updating your software usually has security fixes. Improve performance. They can also improve your performance. There was something found in the lab that your vendor found slowed the performance of your system, and they have a fix for that. Access to new features. You may find that after you update your software, you got something new that you weren't familiar with. So it gives you a chance to play with new features. Long-term software reliability. The more patching that's done, the longer the software will be secured from vulnerabilities. But as I said before, it's like a large game of whack-a-mole. The minute we patch something, something else becomes available for the hackers. In conclusion, updating your software should be the top priority. It's a small step you can take to significantly reduce your risk of falling victim to cyber attack. As we celebrate Cybersecurity Awareness Month, let's all remember to do our part to protect ourselves and our digital assets. Let's use the power of technology, safety, and security, and together we can build a safer digital world. Those are my final thoughts, but I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Back to you, Jay.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Really appreciate that. And the information you covered was both informative and insightful. I'd like to take a few minutes now and grab some of the questions and your perspective regarding some of the questions we pulled earlier, and take the opportunity to really reiterate some of the points that you've made here. So question number one, how often should individuals or organizations update their software?
Well, if you're in a Microsoft environment, you should be updating your software at least monthly. If your work software is usually updated by your IT personnel, but if you find a system that's been offline for a long time, it may not be updated. So what will happen is you turn that system on, it'll go talk to the servers in the back room, and they'll realize it's not updated, and then you'll have to wait for the system to update before it'll be utilized. So that's why I recommend that you keep your systems locked and not turned off over the weekend. Leave them up so the software service can update them while you're not there.
It's great advice. Thank you. With that said, what are some of those risks associated with using the outdated software? I know you covered them a little earlier, but if you want to expand upon that.
Well, you leave yourself open as we go through time. We find more and more vulnerabilities with softwares. If the software is extremely old or legacy software, it's open to newer types of attacks. If you're using that because you just don't want to update, that's not a good enough reason, especially in our present eco environment. You want to make sure that you are not the low-hanging fruit. You want to be able to say you've done your due diligence. Matter of fact, most cyber insurance carriers require that you update your software regularly, and they're looking to see proof of that being done. So with that in mind, you want to make sure that you update your operating system regularly. And what I mean by regularly, you don't want to be running NT or Vista anymore. You want to make sure that you're at least, I hate to say Windows 7 or better, but I would say Windows 10 or Windows 11 would keep you in the ballpark as far as security goes, because they're still being updated.
Oh, that is interesting. I was not aware that insurance companies might be also looking for that. Makes sense, though. So question number 3. What are some common cybersecurity threats that can be prevented by updating your software?
Well, your software vulnerabilities, if someone is scanning the ecosphere and looking for open ports on access control points, your wireless router, and they find the system that you're running on the backside of that router is vulnerable, they're going to try to attack it. If you don't update your software, you leave yourself open for that kind of attack. If you update your software, then you're not the low-hanging fruit, and they're going to move on someone else who's not doing the updates. You're probably not going to have an active persistent threat, a state actor coming after you. You're going to have more likely, if your personal information, someone's going to be looking to dox you. They're going to be looking to grab whatever information they can take off your computer system and put it on the internet. As one that was recently doxed by some evildoers, and all of my information is now on the internet. I can tell you that it takes a little bit of work and some money to make sure that they're not able to access your financials, especially when they know all your accounts. So you have to go to the three reporting entities and lock your credit report so that they can't get credit in your name. You have to lock your mortgage, make sure somebody doesn't steal your house. It's a pain. Yeah. But, I was perfectly updated. It was one of my customers, that are one of the vendors that I use. They were not, and all my information was there, and they took it.
Wow. So I'll say making ourselves a hard target.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The more you update, the harder it is for them to infiltrate your systems.
Yeah. And we all know at the end of the day, securing our world is all about the people. And, so we're able to do that. And that's the exciting aspect, to this. What you're saying today is just that we are in charge of our own security. So you mentioned vendors. What role do software vendors play in the process of software updates?
Well, software vendors are vital to software updates. They know, based on reports from the field, where their software or hardware is vulnerable. So when they issue a patch, they've closed that vulnerability. Now it's incumbent upon us to actually load that patch into our systems so that we too are hardened. I check my systems regularly for updates just to make sure that from my home, I'm not going to be vulnerable to any attacks that are because of something I didn't do. If I'm going to get attacked, it's going to be a flaw in the software or flaw in my networking systems. It's not going to be a flaw due to due diligence on my part.
Here you go. And last question, how about what's the impact of not updating your software on an organization's compliance with regulations or industry standards?
Well, that's a multifaceted question. First of all, you have to define whether the entity is a regulated entity. If they're a regulated entity, then they have requirements. Regulated entities such as NERC-CIP for the energy sector, PCI DSS for all of the credit card and bank information. They're regulated. They have standards, things that need to be followed, and software updates is one of those. If you're your average Joe at home, you have no regulation that you have to follow. You have no standards you have to follow. You pretty much can do anything you wish, but you need to do your due diligence because your information's on the computer systems. And I constantly tell people in my public appearances, if you are sharing a family computer and you have young adults in the house, you cannot account for everything they're doing on that computer when you're gone. So what I suggest is that you get a cheap laptop and keep it in your closet and do your banking on that system, not on your family computer, because you don't know if little Johnny or little Susie has been out to a gaming site that has loaded bots to that system that would be able to grab your information and exfiltrate it to the web. I try to separate my business operations from work from my private routing, so that I don't have, or excuse me, browsing, so that I don't have my banking system on the same computer that I do my browsing with, because it's just not a wise idea.
Yeah, that's great advice, Ron. Definitely has me thinking. So with that, Ron, we want to take a second to say I truly appreciate you taking the time to teach all of us about the importance of keeping our software updated and how it really contributes to the overall securing of our world. We hope you enjoyed today's last session of our Cybersecurity Awareness Month series. I have a request of all of you on behalf of CISA. Please help us protect and secure our critical infrastructure by joining the team effort to raise awareness and spread the word that cybersecurity is for everyone. It's all about the people. Now, we offer many tools and resources here at CISA on CISA.gov, our website for organizations and individuals to participate in Cybersecurity Awareness Month, maybe to create their own campaigns or simply share this information with their family and friends. We're asking everyone to join the online conversation about Cybersecurity Awareness Month via social media platforms. So use the hashtag #SecureOurWorld and Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Even better, join the global conversation by sharing Cybersecurity Awareness Month messaging on your personal and professional networks. Now help spread the word in your own communities by passing on cybersecurity tips to friends, family, and coworkers, and show them how easy it is to improve their own cybersecurity and staying safe online. Your efforts will strengthen our national cyber defenses and create a safer and more secure cyber ecosystem for everyone. Again, a big thank you goes out to all of you for celebrating CISA's 20th annual Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is the final segment for our Cybersecurity Awareness Month webinar series. Thank you all for attending. If you have any questions or would like to access our resources and recordings, please visit CISA.gov/SecureOurWorld and CISA.gov/Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Now let's all work together and secure our world.